out here, and today I am exploring something new, and that is the new upcoming Amazon MMORPG called New World. This is a game that I'm pretty damn unfamiliar with, but I've been hearing a lot more whispers about it, and I've been watching more of Asmongold. If you're not familiar with him, he's a really big YouTube and Twitch streamer. He's one of the most well-known people in the World of Warcraft community, and I've been watching some of his videos about this and some other games, and so I'm gonna learn a little bit about what this game is and what it entails through him. So I thought, what better way to do it than to watch his reaction to the trailer, and let's see what his thoughts are on it, and we'll comment a little bit on that as we go. So let's do that.
This is a New World trailer. It just came out like basically 2 hours ago. This is Antirum.
What is Eternum?
Something I pronounced wrong, apparently.
Eternum.
The substance of legends. The pulse of adventure.
Visually, it looks pretty good.
Glory of triumph.
You can't cut that tree down, by the way. It sucks.
That's unfortunate.
Eternum is life eternal. And
Whoa.
death incarnate.
Oh yeah. That's not a creepy creature.
I like the
And
upgraded
classes.
gear. That's badass. Combat looked pretty cool there. Some of the dungeons, I guess. Oh, what the fuck? This is new.
What is Eternum? The fires of destruction. Rage
Oh.
and malice. Eternum is the truth behind nightmares. What is Eternum?
Hmm.
That depends on you.
That's the guy you see at the beginning.
Wow. Wow. So it's coming out soon.
I mean, I think this is cool. Yeah, it's badass. Like, I do think that one good thing about the New World trailer is the same thing that I said that was good about the original Warcraft trailer, is that they don't really show, like, they show a few characters that are, like, important, right? You have, like, that guy at the very beginning, like this guy here, I think. Let me just go ahead and
So I'm guessing Aeternum is
like
is the
he's
world,
part of the story, kind of.
New World. That's
but
the world.
They just put him in there because he looks cool. Other than that, a lot of this other stuff that they have in here is actually just kind of players interacting with each other. And one thing that I liked about World of Warcraft's original trailer is the fact that they didn't really have a lot of main characters. It wasn't just centered around Magni. It wasn't centered around Bolvar. It was centered around the players interacting with each other.
This is a really good point he makes, and I didn't play vanilla, but when I play a game and you have a big world and you want to become immersed in that, then I can see why it's valuable to, well, we want a game that centers around us as the players, right? We're the ones customizing, we're the one there, we want to be immersed, and you want to feel like you're in that world, not necessarily feel like you're playing a game, right? There's lots of games that you can go and you'll feel that way, and many others where you don't. And I think the games that accomplish that level of immersion where you're in that space and you really feel like you're a part of it and you're making a difference, it's really that those games have accomplished a lot, And from what I understand, Warcraft did used to have that feeling much more than it does now.
Kira TV videos about a dungeon preview. Yeah, we'll look and see what the dungeon is.
So on the 5th of May 2021, I got to log in and play New World. It was the first time I played the game since the Summer 2020 preview event.
I remember that.
As I'm sure most of you are aware.
Okay, so he's watching someone else who played the dungeons.
Other content creators and mainstream game press to get on Discord with a bunch of Amazon Game Studios employees and have a crack at one of the
Looks like there's a
recently
party of
added
4.
Yeah.
Essentially, we were pre-assigned groups to play in, 2 Amazon employees per group, and then 3 content creators. But one of our creators didn't show up or had a technical issue, so we did the dungeon with 4 man.
Okay, so it's supposed to be 5
apparently
man,
slightly
which is
more
pretty standard
difficult.
nowadays.
Yeah, I
New
wonder
World
why.
has voice chat, so we
Same with WoW.
communicated using push to talk, which was surprisingly good quality, to be honest. Which is going to be a great feature for doing pickup group activities further down the line.
I actually think that
Seems pretty
don't give
seamless,
them
the
enough
combat.
credit. I really like how New World has the voice activation and voice chat built into it. And at this point, I feel like voice
That's good.
activation and
That's good.
proximity voice chat in MMOs, it should be a given.
If you guys wasn't aware
Agreed.
of the changes to New World,
Should be.
of which there are many, too many to
I mean,
go through
Discord
in
is
this
great and all.
This
Lots
is
of
a New
views.
World expedition, which is essentially any
a
other
dungeon.
MMORPG dungeon
Yeah.
in terms of how it plays. There are 2 bosses in each so far, and this is the first one I've been able to play. They also changed the game so that you have 2 weapons equipped now instead of 3, and your abilities are no longer in a shared pool.
I heard a little bit
So you
better.
can use all 3 abilities, swap to your second weapon, use all 3 abilities immediately.
The funny thing about that is that's literally exactly what players wanted. Like, and that's why I've been kind of positive towards New World, is that New World listened to what players wanted, and then they gave them... The thing is, like, players wanted that, and New World didn't give them exactly what they wanted, but they removed one of the weapon slots, and then they gave them what they wanted. Yeah, they listened to the player base. And
Wow,
they
listen to the
had
player
to-
base. Who would have thought?
It's their job. They came up with a solution
It is their job.
that they thought made sense for the game. I think, yeah, it was a very pog thing for them to do.
So that means the combat is a little bit different,
Yeah.
but still adheres to the same principle of the majority of your time will be spent left-clicking for either light or heavy attacks. Or at least that was my experience here.
Pretty much.
The dungeon in terms of layout was actually fairly impressive. The rooms were large and visually interesting. They had some sort of pseudo choice on which direction.
Man,
you
combat
would
looks
go.
intense.
I think that one problem with New World is that a lot of the games, a lot of the parts of the game felt very copy-paste. Like, for example, I remember I was going around, so it was the area that had Scorpius, or like Scorpio, or whatever the fuck it was, like that AoE spot, and it was raining all the time. And I went to 8 or 9 different ancient skeleton ruins, and every single one of them had the exact same layout with the exact same mobs, and they were just boring, man. That's what the problem with the game is. And I think the dungeons are gonna, they might run into that same issue where it's just, you know, like in WoW, for example, where like you go in a cave and you're like, okay, so this is the one that you go down here, then you go to the left, then there's the ramp up to the top, and then there's the area with like the water with the rock on top of it. Okay, yeah, it's this cave. So that's the problem that I think New World has. And they also have so much copy paste. I want to be honest with you guys though, like I'm actually so excited to play this game. Like regardless of like anything, like I am actually so I cannot wait to play this game, man.
For a while, I was hoping it was meaningful, but it was essentially just
Interesting.
areas we had to clear, and they would become important later on. So right off the bat, the difficulty of the dungeon was almost non-existent. I think this is okay, but it's worth mentioning because it will matter for the future, depending on the implementation of difficulty within the game. This dungeon was, of course, for level 25 players, and we were level 30, but we didn't have great optimized gear, or really know how to properly play the game. But even with me and Callie being totally fresh, we had like 2 deaths in the whole dungeon, and it seemed like I spent the majority of the time just spamming left click to either shoot arrows or swing the spear at things with almost zero regard for what was going on. It wasn't even...
The other problem is that these NPCs, like so those giant troll monsters, are at like almost every single undead settlement in the entire game. There's like one of those big troll monsters at every single undead settlement in the whole game.
Sounds like it
And
needs
they
some
have
variety.
The exact same move set. They do the exact same thing. The only difference is they have a different name, and that's what the problem is. I think.
You think it's
that's
gonna make
what
it to
they
live
need
like that?
improve on is just more content for the game. I wouldn't be surprised if out of everywhere in New World there were like 50 different NPCs. Like different types of NPCs, and the only difference is that they had different effects. That's a problem. Now, if it releases like that, it's gonna suck. But if the gameplay's good, it's fine. Doesn't matter. But it does need to be something they improve on.
So this dungeon is clearly designed in that way. If we could form...
If that's true, then he's definitely right about that. Combat looks good, seems
That's
pretty
That's
fluid.
okay. And it's okay because we know why they've made it this way, and we know that they can easily fix this issue if they even see it as an issue by just adding in.
all they need to do, listen, is as long as if the leveling dungeons are not super hard. Listen, Maradon was not super hard. Dead Mines was not super hard. Stockade was not super hard. They don't need to be ridiculously hard. It's completely fine if they're not. It's just the in-game content. There needs to be hard content in the game, and not like just artificial difficulty because the guy has
true.
like he does like a little one-shot you randomly.
Yeah.
Actual challenges in the game that you have to overcome.
Yeah, people want to have the ability to be challenged. It's something that many people, and I myself at a point in the past, I was much more into that. I mean, I don't want something to be super easy all the time.
In the theme park MMORPG genre. I'd like for us to be able to do.
It just really depends. Sometimes you're in the mood, you don't really feel like having to think too much.
I say this because the actual dungeon was fairly interesting. As I said before, the layout was pretty cool and it was visually impressive. It would be a real shame if we only got to do this
visually impressive.
Leveling in its current state, and it was just this,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Simulator with no regard for tactics whatsoever. Outside of the bosses, which just seem to be don't stand in the ghosts for boss 1, and the last boss was just don't get hit by the cleave and just kill the ads. But overall, I was actually impressed with how the dungeon feel, especially considering how quickly they must have put this together, since a few months ago there wasn't even a mention or a hint of dungeons being in New World. Back before the game was fully transitioned into a holy
There wouldn't be dungeons? Wow.
This was the best dungeon ever because it was honestly very short, it was too easy, but if this is their first run at a dungeon, and making it in such a short period of time.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm actually cautiously optimistic for what they can do for future ones given more time. I've said this a million times at this stage, but the most impressive part of New World for me
I want to say again, look at the NPC right there, the boss.
Actual game world, and that extends now to these dungeons.
It's pretty beautiful.
It was actually a cool
looks good.
If you look at that NPC, that is the exact same NPC that was a trash mob earlier in the dungeon.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Core sucked. Like it's
people making references to WoW, copy and paste. They're like TBC, same thing.
I'm pretty sure
I haven't played TBC yet, but soon, so I'll find out.
See that happen, but again, it's something that I hope they can improve on in time.
Yeah, they should be able to. They listen to player feedback.
But if the other dungeons in the game are just this, but more difficult, hopefully more in-depth, I can see them being a cool addition to the game for sure. And let's be real here, it's required content for these to be good, because with the pivot from an open world focus to having more PvE content for the crowd that they're looking to please,
very true.
These dungeons need to be really good, as that's
more
what
PvE, huh?
aiming for is used to.
Interesting.
Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, they have really good dungeon experiences in my opinion, and for those players,
I haven't played at Final Fantasy 14, but I've heard that.
Content and all of that sunk cost fallacy of playing those games for many years to come play New World, they have to nail this aspect.
Very true.
Overall, I like the experience.
Definitely have to nail it.
In the right direction. It could have been better, but I was honestly expecting worse with how short of a time frame they had to get these together. I hope Dungeons further.
This is May 11th, so that's when this person's posted this video. So that's
I really agree with that, because that's actually one of the big reasons why I really don't like. I think that Blizzard, and this is like super early on, like the Blizzard strategy or philosophy on making dungeons actually changed in Burning Crusade. And in Burning Crusade,
guess I'm about to find that out pretty soon here.
Made all dungeons to be formulaic with like 3 to 5 bosses basically for every single one, and there was like a chosen, you go this way, you take this path, and you do this thing. So in vanilla WoW, for example,
yes, they streamlined them. Yeah.
Like I think Maradon is a great example where you do completely different runs based off of what level you are. You have Blackrock Depths, who's a completely different dungeon, but it's like it's basically like a whole zone in the game that's just in dungeon format. And I always think that BRD is the best dungeon Blizzard's ever made. Maradon, BRD are the best example. Sunken Temple. Look at Sunken Temple. Sunken Temple was incredibly complex. It was to some degree, like, I guess you could choose not to do the whole thing. Yeah, it's true. Like, some people would just go down and kill the guy down. Then you'd have to kill the different prophets. I think that MMOs need more dungeons like the original Sunken Temple. I think they need more dungeons like, and I'll say this too, like Mechagon. Mechagon was to some degree open world. Like Operation Mechagon was fucking amazing. I really liked it.
I liked it
I
too.
think that New
I
World
did.
should try to look at making dungeons that expansive design that you're going into like an open area that's instanced basically. It's kind of like a dungeon, and you can choose what you want to do in there. And there's like different options, and the difficulty scaling is very high. And yeah, like Dire Mall is another good example. There's many examples of this.
TBC worst expansion.
Dungeons, like old school World of Warcraft design,
True.
with multiple directions to go, a super deep experience that can take hours to navigate. I think that would be honestly amazing, especially giving the feeling that New World gives a lot of us. I remember the first time I logged in and played the game, I was still and I'm still impressed with the game world and the visuals of it. Standing on a hill and seeing players from a massive distance.
I remember I played. I should say I did play technically Vanilla WoW when it was in beta, and I played it at E3. I remember many years ago when it was still, well before launch, but it was enough. And I remember thinking, this is interesting. But I never, when WoW came out, I just didn't really have the time to dedicate to it, so I just didn't play it.
World we all want to inhabit as MMORPG fans. If they can translate that feeling into large dungeons with difficult content, varied methods of navigation, exploration, difficult boss mechanics, varied interesting loot, I'll be sold on the idea of New World as a theme park experience. But with super short on-rails dungeons, of which there's currently only a couple in the game, I still have to say this is super far off being an experience that will captivate the majority of the audience that they're targeting. I want things the size
coming out in August
but in
too.
New World's aesthetic and style.
That's such a great insight that he has. Like that's actually, I really like this guy. He has such great ideas. He really does. He's such a smart guy.
This dungeon for me, if I had to put it into a metaphor, was like I entered a restaurant starving hungry and they served me half a bowl of soup with no bread. I enjoyed it, but I'm still hungry. I hope the main course with more.
That's a great analogy, actually. Wow, very, very good analogy.
Thank you very much for watching. As always, leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and subscribe if you're not already. I really do appreciate it. It takes you 2 seconds, totally free. And then if you think I'm a dick, you can unsub later.
Then put us in the same group, rip. Oh yeah, Force Gaming. This guy makes a lot of great MMO content too. Oh, I see. So this is a marketing campaign for New World, and they wanted everybody to release their content for New World at the same time as the trailer. So I'm gonna skip to about right here, just to get his in thoughts of the video, because like we're just gonna watch. I don't want to watch the whole thing.
Beyond this introductory dungeon, I'm hopeful that the bosses themselves aren't just scaled versions of existing models. That would be nice, but.
See, this guy's really smart too.
That's exactly what I was saying.
How smart these two guys are.
Because they think like Asmongold, that's why.
Well, what's funny about it, right, is that it's so obvious. Like, everybody fucking knows. Everybody fucking knows it. So, and New World devs know it too. Like, there's no way that they don't know it.
I just think that selfishly, I would have appreciated a bit more of a challenge, even with the understanding that this is the first dungeon of the game. But anyways,
I think one thing they could do, and this is like what I was saying about the group quests and stuff like that, is in the group quests, you were able to choose if you wanted to solo them or not. I really like in dungeons where they have like these optional bosses that are really hard to do, but they have some sort of special award to them or special reward to them or something like that.
That's an interesting thought.
Visitus in AQ40 is a great example of this. Nightbane is another great example of that. What about dungeons? I'm thinking about dungeons, guys. Algalon. Yeah, Algalon, another great example. So you have like these different types of things like that that you can use to like give those better groups and those more experienced groups that extra little challenge that they can do too. And that's what I really think that these things should have. Is they should have those extra bosses.
Asmongold has spoken. He knows better than me. I haven't played a lot of the old, and he's been doing this for years and years. The only two MMOs I played, the only two MMOs I played are WoW, and three technically. Lord of the Rings Online, that was my first MMO. I played that from 2007 to 2009, and then again several years later, when Mordor content came out, I went back and played through another couple hundred hours, and then that's it for me. Just that game just hasn't aged well. I played a little bit of the Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic. I played a little bit of that, didn't really stick with it despite liking Star Wars, and then World of Warcraft since Legion.
The perfect example.
There's some more. After the dungeon, I actually continued to play
But I'm going to be playing TBC soon, so.
around for a while longer. I swapped out the ice gauntlet to what has become one of my favorite weapon combos, which is the bow and spear. Both of these scale off dexterity, which gives a nice ranged and melee weapon option, while all focusing
So
on
do you
the
you have to actually there's no
putzed around
is
the
it
open
auto
world
targeting or
and
is it
I
you
was
actually have to
really
aim? Is there
impressed
actual
with
skill?
why I'm
I don't
looking forward
know.
to this game so much. I went
looks good.
around, explored a few different zones, going into different encampments and
I
clearing.
still feel like the NPCs, the way that they swing and the way they attack, feels really jerky to me. It feels like really. It
Yeah,
doesn't
the
feel
lunging
as
and
fluid as
whatnot.
maybe it
Yeah.
should.
And all of it was a lot of fun. I think the game world looks great. I've enjoyed playing it. Just moving around and exploring
like
has
the
been really
axe. That's
fun.
cool.
It's just been an
There's a
enjoyable
lot of,
world to spend time in.
undead
And before
creatures.
I logged off for
We need
the
a great
event,
sword,
I
though.
decided to go give one of my favorite MMO experiences a shot, and that is soloing group content. So I went back to
What a loser. I thought he was going to say killing low-level players. What a Care Bear. Imagine, oh, you go down, you kill low-level players. What do you mean?
the expedition. I went back to Amrian Excavation, and I
did the
wanted to
same-
see how far I could get all by myself.
actually
I
did the
actually
same
got
thing.
further than I expected.
Yeah.
I cleared all the way up to that first large group of elites with a Geist and a ton of those zombies. Unfortunately, their sheer numbers did me in, but hey, it was still really fun
a lot of
because I
damage.
appreciate the challenge, like I mentioned, and at least
Yeah,
doing this
dang.
stuff solo presented some sort of a challenge. I don't mean to harp on the
So, like, I remember when I played Lord of the Rings online, eventually they added this feature where when you went into an instance solo, you get this inspiration buff where you become significantly stronger so that you could do some of those, and not all, but some of those instances, specifically the ones that were like, they called them book quests, right? So related to the story, you could solo them. And I thought that that was really cool.
fact that this was all so face roll easy. I'll reiterate again that this is meant to be an introductory dungeon. They've talked about the fact that this first dungeon is
If it's too hard,
in its difficulty.
some people won't like it. If it's too easy, other people won't like it. It's hard to find that
Just for a
balance.
second, this is like a good example of what I was
All
saying.
the more reason I think we should have been level.
Look at that. Like that sucks. Like that's not good. It's not good design. It's like PoE. Yeah. And what is one of the biggest problems with PoE? Visual clarity. Yeah, and I don't think the effect itself.
Damn,
if you
harsh.
put that effect down, that's fine. Right? But like you shouldn't have that happen because somebody else cast it on you unless you're on another team.
I see what you're
Like,
saying.
For example, like the part of like a fucking ice wizard is obscuring the vision of other people. It's like, think of the Jaina fight in Battle of Desire Lore. So it's not like this is completely unheard of. And I think it's really cool, but the difference is that Jaina wasn't on your team. That's the difference. You were fighting against her.
25, but it's okay. The whole main point of this is to just get
Yeah, you're obscuring your vision like that, dang.
Aside. Does bring me back to the point that I am a little bit disappointed that the boss fights weren't unique creatures. Again, they were just reused character models of existing enemy types that we fought a bunch over and over again.
If it goes live like that, that would definitely be disappointing.
More of these boss encounters, they're not just giving a few.
They're hearing this criticism from multiple people, so
I want to see more unique stuff. That would be great. That ideally, that would be really good.
And like I want to.
what do you mean ideally? Come on, that's not ideal. That should be an expectation. Doesn't need to be ideal.
Like right there, this is the problem, is that the spell effects obscure your vision from the necessary things that you need to see.
To see
Another
more
example.
unique stuff, that would be great. That ideally, that would be really good. Maybe that's a side effect again, though, of this being an introductory dungeon. Not exactly the best excuse, but either way, I think it was cool to see the dungeon. I had fun. I'm glad dungeons are in the game. I'm hoping for the best. I'm really excited again to play more New World. I cannot wait till this thing comes out. We got that beta coming up in July. I'm really excited for that as well.
There's a beta in July and there's a release in August? Really?
through it with me.
Damn.
Interested to see what the
That seems a
upcoming
little
dungeons
quick.
will look like as well in terms of the
Hmm.
mob variety, in
I
terms
don't
of
know.
difficulty,
That makes me a
and
little
yeah, in terms
apprehensive
of how
about
interesting
trying
or
it. I mean,
unique
I would
are
wait to
the
see.
other
I'll see.
bosses.
Asmongold's gonna
Thank you
play
guys so
it.
much for watching. Hope you
We'll
enjoyed
wait
this
and
video
see what he
and this
thinks.
walkthrough of our very first New World expedition. Appreciate your time. As always, thanks for the support. I don't know what to say. I'm having a hard time wrapping up my videos. All right, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you all, and have a good one. I'll see you next time.
So, let me ask a very simple question. Does this make you more or less excited for the game? Because for me, I think it probably makes me a little bit more excited about the game to know that they're making it less excited. So, I would say that it probably makes me more excited overall to just see the content itself. But I do think that the core problems with the game, right, like lack of you know mob diversity,
Variety, yeah.
you know, like the mobs just being easy to kill, etc. That's not really going away, and it's going to be hard for them to figure out a way to do that. So I want to say that it's going to be hard for them to do. So I would say way more. I'm excited that I'm hoping that it gets better. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, visual clutter,
Okay.
especially disappointing because if any company can throw a legion of artists at shit like that, it's Amazon. Well, here's the silver lining, okay? Is that as long as like changing NPC models is not that hard to do. It's just not. That's
Yeah.
why I think it's okay. Like that's why I'm not freaking out. That it's not that hard to do. And also, before I fucking get into this, WoW did this with tier 2 armor. So this is something that WoW has done. Many of the other NPC
It's true. A lot of copy pasta.
vanilla WoW dungeons are all reskins. They're all just human characters. Like there's basically no unique models in all of Deadmines. I was thinking about it while I was watching the video. No unique models in all of Deadmines. No unique models in all of Skullamonts. And besides like just characters that have certain armor on. Like that's basically it. Yeah, 15 years ago though. Yeah, it's very true. And so nowadays I think people do expect to see more visual diversity. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and we're going to look at the Ashes of Creation news.
Okay, so that's it for that. So speaking of Ashes of Creation, which he just said, I'm definitely going to be, I've heard some really great things about that game. So I'm going to be watching a video, a summary video about that, and giving my live reaction to that and seeing how that goes. Because I'm just really craving some of that. How the brain craves that novel stimulus. And WoW is still pretty fun and enjoyable. I mean, we're getting TBC Classic and whatnot. But I'm always on the lookout for some new things I can do with my friends, and we'll see about this new world. Like it looks pretty good, but I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll see. Ashes Creation. I don't know too much about it. I heard it's pretty hype though. So we'll see when we get to that. But that's gonna be it for today. So thanks for joining me. If you like what you see, please follow me on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.